Okay. Hey, good morning, everyone. I'm Gina Terusio,
I'm Alicia.
and we're here with Latah 411. This program is designed to show you what is awesome in Latah County, Idaho, the businesses, the people, just all the cool stuff. This morning, Alicia and I are here with Amanda Argona, the farmers market manager. She is awesome. And again, the farmers market in Moscow. Awesome in the nation. Tell us some goodies. Good morning, Miss Amanda.
Good morning, Gina and Alicia. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So I want to start now. I made an allusion to the national thing. I want you to tell us about that in a minute, but tell us about you. Tell us about the woman behind the market, please.
Well, I definitely don't like to take credit for the Moscow Farmers Market, but it is a large job and someone needs to be in there and managing the operations of it on a weekly basis. So the farmers market, I stepped into my role with the farmers market actually way back in 2013 as an AmeriCorps member, and I served 2 terms with the city. And I really dived into some data and surveys to illustrate the economic impact of the market. And I was a core shopper. I was one of those hardcore market shoppers that goes to the market every Saturday. You know, even after I stopped working for the city, rain or shine, you know, we make our grocery list, maybe do some perusing for gift shopping. And I took some time away. I got to work with the wonderful Palouse Clearwater Environmental Institute. I got to sling coffee at One World Cafe for a little bit, and then heard that, you know, there was an opening for the farmers market position, and it had evolved a little bit into what is now the community events manager position. So farmers market is 80% of my time. And I do dabble with some other things as well, helping folks in the community do their own events with the permitting process, and adding support to the other wonderful events like Art Walk and Light Up the Night Parade that the city is a part of. But you know, the day to day, the week to week, once market gets going, it's a really well-oiled machine. But I like being in the background. I like pulling the strings, you know. I like problem solving, and the market is this really ginormous puzzle, making sure you're not, you know, putting 2 vendors right next to one another, or giving folks relatively same location so they can build up their business and their clientele, you know, troubleshooting with vendors, onboarding new vendors. I love it when customers come to the city tent and say, hey, do you know where I can find so-and-so this week? And point them in the exact direction that they need to be in. Or if they're looking for a specific product, let them know, like, you know, walk the entire market and here's who you're gonna find this Saturday. Yeah. But I definitely don't like taking credit. It's a very well historic institution and tradition on the Palouse that's over 40 years and growing. And the vendors are really the ones that are the face of the market. You know, they show up every week. They dedicate themselves each season, rolling with the punches, especially this year. So I'm here to support them and making it the historic and traditional event that we all have known and come to love.
Amanda, you are speaking the exact reason this market is awesome. I'm going to back up because I want you to remember the day that we met. In that, I think I interviewed you when you were an AmeriCorps applicant, and I remember thinking, I hope we can keep you, because you were so energetic and you had ideas that were so different, and, you know, not weird different, but just so refreshingly different. So thank you for hanging on and staying with us. I have to say that I agree with you in that the market vendors are really what makes it so vibrant and awesome. I do think, though, there are unsung heroes. You know, and I want to say it was Zach Ellis back in the day when we were it's like the infrastructure that you and figuring out where everybody goes and how not to have conflict and figuring out volunteers, and Zach, who used to work on all of the power stuff and helping the bands get going. I mean, and then city volunteers or part-time people helping. I mean, there's just so much behind the scenes, that yes, the vendors are the meat and potatoes, but you guys are the way it happens. And so I don't want to underplay that at all. So tell me, I got this great new invention, right? I do my own jewelry. Okay. How do I become a vendor? Is there a way? Do you screen me? What's the drill? Please.
So I'm a little bit rusty because it kind of changed this year, but generally speaking, if there is someone that is interested in participating in the market, the first question that I want to know is, what are you interested in selling? All right, great. Now we can figure out what track you need to be on. So generally speaking, the most inquiries we get throughout in the beginning of the season and really throughout the year is, I want to sell food at the market, or I make jewelry, or I make wood products. How can I get into the market? Well, one, we want to make sure you're the maker. And then two, we want to make sure that you're making that product within the 200 air mile radius of Moscow, Idaho. Yep. And that is where we source our vendors from. That's not to say we don't make exceptions. We were really close to getting a salmon vendor one year who fished out of Alaska. But generally speaking, that's kind of where I'm going when I'm thinking about adding on new folks. So once we get through those basic requirements, the next steps are for them, what we call non-agricultural vendors, to go through a craft and food jury. And the craft and food jury, Gina, I believe you have participated in those in the past. Yeah. And it's a really fun process. We provide the table, and we ask that prospective vendor to come and set up their table how they envision it would look at the Moscow Farmers Market. So it's really interesting because we have some folks who have never participated in markets or craft markets or art markets before. And then we have some folks who have a little bit of their sea legs under them, and so understand what it means to set up that table. And then we have a subcommittee from the Farmers Market Commission that goes through the judging process, and they are scoring on table display, they're scoring on local sourcing. You know, are you able to source some of these things closer to home, regionally, rather than maybe big box store? They're focusing on product integrity. You know, they're handling these products, they're trying these products. You know, we want to make sure what's coming to the market is at least a baseline. We feel good about it, you know. The customers and the market itself are going to suss out those vendors, but we want to be the initial folks with the onboarding process. So I don't have a hand in it. I don't make any decisions. The biggest thing that I look at is, if we're on our 5th photography vendor, are we going to be able to create a fair business environment? So let's say all photography vendors show up to the market on the same day. What's that going to look like for folks? And so if they've received that qualifying eligible score, which I believe right now is 70% is what we're aiming for, then we talk about paperwork, vendor orientation. I mean, that's like phase 1. And then there's a whole other phase 2 to the onboarding.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's intense.
Yeah, it is. It's intense, but I think it's what makes our market accessible to many people while still having a pretty good caliber market.
Oh, for sure. I love going to the market.
Yeah. Oh, and I think this process is why. I signed up because one of my buddies in the streets department or something said, hey, it was good food, you know, so I signed up. But then being part of the commission for 3 or 4 years, it really is critical that each one of the jurors actually chose what they believe to be quality. Like you're saying, Amanda, it's key, and you have to handle the items, and you have to make sure that you would wear or eat or drink, any of the things that are being presented. And so I had kombucha for the first time. I've never had it before. And that was at that jurying moment. It's mind-boggling, all of the things that you measure these vendors on. And I think, again, critical, because look at what our success has been. We're nationally ranked, aren't we?
Yeah, this is the highest ranking we've received through the American Farmland Trust voting, Farmers Market Celebration voting period. So we almost broke into the top 10. We were just at 11th. So really exciting for us this year, especially in a pandemic year.
Right.
Now, talk to us about that. There's a new cool motor in that happened this year, right, as a result of the pandemic, and the community wants it to continue, right? So tell us about that.
Yeah. So, back in like March and April, the Farmers Market Coalition, which is, this national like advocacy nonprofit for farmers markets, really started bringing all the pieces together about how our farmers markets going to function in the pandemic. Are farmers markets considered an essential business? That was a really big question for us. And what was great is that prior to the pandemic, there are actually a lot of these resources available if you wanted to offer like a food aggregate hub where you bring all your vendors together and people can shop from them, sort of like a virtual online co-op. And so we investigated, and I definitely took the local growers' concerns and feedback into consideration as we were moving forward with trying to decide how we were gonna, offer the market this year. So we had the delay, and that was really unfortunate. And a lot of the growers were like, we need to get our bedding plants out to the community. Like, how are we gonna do that? And they had kind of already taken some steps, but it was really overwhelming for them. So Motor Inn Moscow Farmers Market is a direct response to offering that May season for them. And the curbside contactless. That was what we really wanted to push, was if people are still not feeling comfortable coming down to the market, even as an essential business, how can we serve those folks in the community? And we definitely are seeing the orders drop off with the the cold coming in. But I have to say it would not be possible without the AmeriCorps member that I had serving with us earlier this year, with the amazing staff support, and not just from us, but from other city departments to put it on, the commission, volunteers. It really has been this collective effort. So you can, Tuesday morning, 9 a.m., you can be in your pajamas, you can be at work at the office and take a little break and start doing your shopping. Nice. That storefront closes at 9 a.m. on Thursday. Okay. And then we distribute those orders on Saturday. And we're definitely trying to see how it's going to look for next year. We don't think the pandemic will be going away, come May, June. So the question is, do we offer in a non-pandemic year, and how do we offer it? So we're going to be drilling down into the data, which is really great. Local Line, the management system that we've been using for our Motor Inn Moscow Farmers Market, we can just pull so much data out of it. Number of customers each week. We can figure out who's return customers. We can find out the average amount that a customer is purchasing from, average number of vendors. So there's just so much there that we're really hoping will help drive some of our decisions. But personnel capacity is like our most limiting factor when it comes to offering something like that.
Right.
I love that design because it takes care of both ends of the farmers market spectrum. It takes care of those essential vendors, and then also the customer. I mean, what a beautiful business design. That's awesome. A lot of people could learn from that. I also want to say that I want to point out that your phone is ringing right during this. We're sitting right now at the front edge of the first snowstorm of 2020. and you are having to make alternative arrangements for that moment, right? In case we end up with 5 inches of snow.
Yes. Just when I thought October was going to be smooth sailing, 2020 said, hold my beer. And so we're kind of, we've talked with all the vendors yesterday. We're waiting for a few vendors to make some decisions. It does look like the forecast is leaning towards our favor. So right now, how it's looking is if we need to, we will relocate the market. We're not going to cancel. You know, we're going to stick by our guns of rain, shine, and maybe we'll add in the slogan sleet and snow into that. But we'll relocate the market to City Hall if it's looking like substantial snowfall accumulation. But right now, we can definitely figure 1 to 2 inches for our area. I'm hoping it will stay under 4 inches. And then that will stay on Main Street. We may see a more compact market for this Saturday, October 24th. Yeah, I've got my cell phone, I've got my office phone. I don't have my email pulled up, but vendors are trying to get in touch with me any which way. So I apologize if the phones are going off.
I want to highlight the fact that you are so committed and so passionate about this market that it's, you know, you're trying to help get some marketing out there about it, but then at the same time, you're in the middle of the day-to-day craziness that is your job. And so I'm just thrilled. I'm glad you're here. You're a humongous asset to our city and to our market. So I want to close because I know you're busy, but tell us. So here's my hypothetical. And it's kind of I think the way that we assure that nobody ever wants to play with Latah 411 again. But my question for you is, so you've been in the farmers market business for 30 years. This is kind of not the sunset of your career, but okay, we'll call it that. Sunset of your career, and you are talking to an AmeriCorps member on the phone who's coming to take your spot. And what do you tell them? What's your number 1 or 2? You can have 2 or 3. I'm pretty flexible on the numbers, but what's the message? What are your messages that you give to this person in retrospect?
Gosh.
See, this is why people don't. We're eliminating friends quickly with this game, but anyway.
Number 1, I think, is take care of yourself. This position is such a unicorn position. You have to be a little bit of human resources on the day-to-day with vendors. You have to be empathetic and sympathetic, but firm. You have to, you have to deal with cranky people. You have to, and that goes for vendors and customers, you know, not everyone's going to be happy. So you definitely can't go into this thinking everyone is going to be 100% happy with all the decisions I'm making. Like if that is your mindset, like this is not the position for you. So taking care of yourself is so important for just like being able to back away from situations, make good decisions. You know, and sometimes your decisions are the best ones you can make with the best information that you have available. I mean, that's been this whole year, you know? So like taking care of yourself and having a good support system is like the number 1 thing I can say to someone stepping into this position. If it weren't for my partner, like I don't think I would ever eat. Like I just wouldn't. I just live on coffee the entire time.
Oh, honey.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and then I think number 2 is being as objective as possible and understanding that you know, farmers' interests in the market are not necessarily the same as a craft vendor or a prepared food vendor. You have to understand when to prioritize and how to justify that prioritization. So like our biggest thing, you know, with farmers this year is you plant a carrot in March, you can't tell it to stop growing. You know, that thing is going to keep going. And once you decide to harvest it, like you can't tell it like, oh, hey, would you just be good for 2 months after I harvest you? Like So you have to take that into consideration. And first and foremost, we are a farmer's market, you know,
Right.
So that's not to downplay the other vendors that have made this market what it is, but we have to remember, you know, that's one of the reasons we got deemed as an essential business, is because we are providing food to the community. So if you can get behind those concepts, and then I think we would be really successful in this position.
Amanda, I think you just absolutely illustrated what set you apart 2013, 7 years ago, when we hired you. For someone without all of that natural highlight in their hair, you really do have a very clear understanding of the essential. I mean, you have a beautiful way of getting to the core of an issue. And that's why I think it's important that you're where you're at, because you understand exactly. It's a farmer's market, first and foremost. Doesn't downplay anybody, but you understand. And it's just, I think those are the key skills. I think you're right on about the message to the next person in line, because it is that objective, clear focus. And as somebody who got put into a position of some decision making, you are one that I don't have to question. So thank you for being as awesome as you are. How can people find out about the Moscow Farmers Market? Is there a website, Facebook, what?
Yeah, so what a lot of folks don't understand is the Moscow Farmers Market is a City of Moscow managed program. So the best way folks can find out about the market is by going to the City of Moscow website. We have our own webpage. We're developing it constantly. Welcome feedback. We've been overhauling it for the last year or so.
Wow.
And yeah, so www.ci.moscow.id.us, that lovely long governmental web address. The next place is the Moscow Farmers Market Facebook page. We push a lot of content out on there, especially day of content. You know, we're trying to be better about engaging with the City of Moscow Instagram. So that's on the to-do list for 2021. And then the other place where folks can find us, aside from the local line and motor and Moscow Farmers Market, is we use an online management system called FarmSpread. And so if folks go to FarmSpread, or I believe they're rebranding to MarketSpread now, you can search for the Moscow Farmers Market. And we try and publish the vendor roster there as well. And so that's another resource where you can, if you really want to know like who's going to be at market. This year, you probably have seen on the Facebook, we've been posting the vendor roster.
Yep.
That's a lot of time that we don't typically do. So FarmSpread and MarketSpread is the next best stop. And that's how we manage our vendors, invoicing, space assignments, communication. I mean, it's this great little tool that has saved me a lot of time on the computer.
Nice. Awesome. Well, Amanda, thank you. Thank you for your time today. And again, you are the brains behind the awesomeness of the market. I do appreciate it. And once again, I'm Gina Terusio.
I'm Alicia.
And we have brought you the fabulous Amanda Argona with the Moscow, Idaho Farmers Market. Thank you again. Have a wonderful non-5-inch snowy weekend, Miss Amanda.
Yeah, thank you. And everyone stay warm this weekend.
Okay.